Hi, and welcome to Morning Coffee with the Passionate Homeschooler. I'm Deanna, and today I want to talk to you about libraries. And we've had some videos in the past about the origins of libraries and some lending libraries, but this is about a particular library in New York City called the New York Society Library. This was a lending library, and it dates back to 1754. That's over 250 years, and it's still in existence today. In fact, there are about 18 of these lending libraries from the past that are still in existence. Some are now research centers for scholars to come in and look at their collections, but this library still exists in the lending capacity. What's very interesting about this particular one is that they have kept their records dating all the way back to the 18th century. I came across this library from an article by Atlas Obscura written by Aaron Schreiner, and it was first published in 2018, but it recently came across my Facebook feed, and so I started reading it, and I was just absolutely fascinated. And so these records date back to 1789. They lost the first few decades during the Revolution when the British occupied New York. The records were burned. But from 1789 forward, except for a couple of gaps in time, they still have these records. And so we know that Aaron Burr checked out Voltaire and Alexander Hamilton checked out Goethe. And so it's just so amazing to think about. We can know what these important people from our history were reading, and we can go and read those same, maybe not the same exact book, but the same, books that these great men read. They also have records from women, and so we can see what women in the 18th and early 19th century were reading, and it's absolutely fascinating. I went down a rabbit hole the other day because they have digitized these records, or a lot of them. So we'll put a link in the description below of where you can look at these records, and you can see the volumes that people in the past were reading that we still have available to read today. Now, what's also interesting in this collection and in this library is that there was a book that was checked out for 13 months, and it was a book on whaling checked out by Herman Melville when he was writing Moby Dick. Now, this book still exists in their collection, and if you're a member of this library, you have access to read the same book that Herman Melville read when he was writing Moby Dick. And so these records really inform the modern world about these behaviors and the research and what some of these early writers were reading, or what some of these early statesmen or what women were reading, what was sort of in vogue at the time, what was popular. Roald Dahl, the author of all those wonderful children's books like James and the Giant Peach, he was a member in 1956 and 1957. He had a weekly Wednesday routine where he would stop by the library and check out a book. And he checked out a lot of fiction books and even a couple of cookbooks. So perhaps he was cooking his own meals. And it's this kind of history that I find absolutely fascinating, because you can just go into this database and look for familiar names, or just click on a particular, they have it broken down by founding fathers and women, and so you can look at different categories and you can pull up these records and see what people were reading. And if you're like me and you're interested in history, I wanted to run to my library and check out the books that some of these early Americans were reading, because how cool is that to feel that connected to history? So this library has become also an important resource for historians and people researching different segments of the culture. For instance, some researchers have gone to see what Japanese Americans in New York were checking out at a particular time period to fill in some gaps when they're writing history about this particular population. And so it can just be so rich in knowledge and history, and interesting. And so if you're teaching your kids about some revolutionary figures, and there were a lot of like the first senators after the Constitutional Convention that were members of this library, you can go into this database and look at what they were reading and try to read some of those same books with your kids. So it's just an amazing bit of history that is available online for free. Again, I'll put that link in the description below, as well as a link to the original article that I read. And if you're enjoying our videos, please like them, hit that notification bell on YouTube so you get alerts when we do have new videos. We also have Instagram, Facebook, and we have a podcast. We'll put links to all of that in the description below. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.